You reach a certain age and you realize that not everything needs to be shared. The years teach you that silence can be a shield, that wisdom isn't just knowing what to say, but also knowing when to say nothing at all. If you're between 55 and 75, you've seen enough to understand that some things are best kept to yourself. Not because you're hiding, not because you're secretive, but because life has shown you the power of discretion. Today, let's talk about the 9 things you should never share with anyone. This isn't about fear or mistrust. It's about preserving your peace, your dignity, and your wisdom. There are lessons only time can teach, and if you've made it this far, you've likely learned that people don't always have your best interest at heart. Some people pry not to help, but to judge. Some listen not to understand, but to gossip. And some ask questions not to support, but to compete. The truth is, your life is yours, and not everything needs to be laid bare. The first thing you should keep to yourself is your biggest regrets. Regret is a heavy thing, and the older you get, the more you understand its weight. Maybe you wish you had taken a different path. Maybe you regret the things you didn't do more than the ones you did. But the truth is, regret is yours to carry, and yours alone to let go of. Talking about it won't change the past, and sharing it with the wrong person can make you feel worse. Some people will use your regrets against you, as if they're proof of your failures. Others will misunderstand, offering advice when all you needed was to be heard. But here's what life teaches you. Your regrets don't define you. They are lessons, not life sentences. Learn from them, but don't let them become your whole story. Another thing best kept private is your financial situation. Money is a strange thing. It can change the way people see you in an instant. If you have too little, they pity you. If you have too much, they envy you. And if you're somewhere in between, they still judge how you spend it. It doesn't matter if you worked hard for what you have or if you're struggling quietly. Talking about money invites opinions, and most of them aren't helpful. Some will ask for help. Others will resent you for having more, and some will see you as a means to an end. Money is personal, and so is the way you manage it. There's no shame in success, and there's no shame in struggle. But the details, keep those to yourself. Let's talk about family problems. By the time you reach this stage in life, you've seen your fair share of family issues. Maybe you've had disagreements with your siblings. Maybe your children have made choices you don't understand. Maybe there are old wounds in your family that never quite healed. And while it's tempting to talk about these things, to seek comfort in sharing, you have to be careful. Some people listen to family problems just to spread them. Others will give advice that only makes things worse. And at the end of the day, no one truly understands your family like you do. Problems within a family should be handled within that family, not laid out for the world to dissect. Talk to those who can help, those who have earned your trust. But remember, not everyone needs to know your struggles. Then there's your health. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't talk to your doctor or seek support when needed, but be mindful of who you share your health issues with. Some people will genuinely care, but others, they'll turn it into gossip. They'll make assumptions. They'll treat you differently. You don't want to become a topic of conversation at the dinner table of someone who doesn't truly care. And beyond that, constantly talking about health problems can make them feel even heavier. There's a balance. Seek the right support, but don't make your struggles public property. And then, there's the matter of your future plans. You've lived long enough to know that not everyone is rooting for you. Some will pretend to support you, while secretly hoping you fail. Others will plant seeds of doubt, making you second-guess yourself. If you have plans, whether big or small, keep them close. Work on them quietly. Let your results speak for you, not your words. Some dreams are fragile, and too many opinions can break them before they even have a chance to grow. These are just the first few things you should keep to yourself. As we continue, we'll talk about more. Because at this stage in life, wisdom isn't just about knowing. It's about understanding what to protect. And some things, they're meant to be yours and yours alone. There's a certain peace that comes with age, but it doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you learn what to hold close and what to let go of. It happens when you realize that not everything needs to be shared, that silence is sometimes more powerful than words. In the last section, we talked about the importance of keeping your regrets, your financial situation, your family problems, your health, and your future plans to yourself. But those are just the beginning. There are more things, important things, that deserve your discretion. Because the truth is, when you're open with the wrong people, you invite unnecessary stress into your life. And if you've made it to this stage in life, you know that peace is priceless. One thing you should never share is the kindness you do for others. There's an old saying, a good deed speaks for itself. When you do something kind, whether it's helping a friend, supporting a loved one, or even giving to a stranger, you don't need to announce it. The world doesn't need to know every act of generosity you've done. In fact, talking about it can take away from its purity. True kindness isn't done for recognition. It's done because it's the right thing to do. And when you start telling everyone about the good you've done, it shifts the focus. Instead of being about the act, it becomes about you. Real kindness is quiet. It doesn't need applause. Another thing to keep to yourself is your past mistakes, especially with people who don't need to know them. Now, I'm not saying you should hide who you are, but there's a difference between owning your past and handing people the power to use it against you. We all have things we wish we had done differently. We've all made choices that, looking back, weren't the best. But not everyone deserves to know your history. Some people will use it as a weapon. Others will judge you based on the person you were, not the person you are. And some will pretend to understand, only to talk about it behind your back. Your past is yours. Share it only with those who have earned the right to hear it. And then, there's your deepest fears and insecurities. By now, you've probably learned that trust is a rare thing. You can know someone for years and still not truly know them. And when you open up about your fears, the things that keep you up at night, the doubts that weigh on you, you're giving someone access to the most vulnerable parts of you. In the right hands, that can be comforting. But in the wrong hands, it can be dangerous. People can use your fears against you. They can manipulate you. Or worse, they can spread your insecurities to others. Strength doesn't mean you have no fears. It means you don't hand them over to people who don't deserve to hold them. Let's talk about happiness. It might sound strange, but sometimes, even your happiness should be kept private. There are people in this world who don't want to see you happy. It's an unfortunate truth, but if you've lived long enough, you've seen it. Some people resent the joy of others. They smile in your face, but behind that smile is envy. You tell them about something good in your life, and instead of being happy for you, they downplay it. They find a way to make you feel like it's not a big deal. Or worse, they start looking for ways to tear you down. Not everyone needs to know when life is treating you well. Protect your joy. Share it with those who will truly celebrate with you, not those who will secretly hope it fades. And finally, never share your plans for personal growth. At least not too soon. Whether it's working on your health, changing your mindset, or trying to improve your life in any way. Be careful who you tell. Some people will discourage you before you even start. Others will act supportive but quietly hope you fail. And even those with good intentions might give advice that leads you in the wrong direction. When you're working on yourself, do it quietly. Let your progress be the proof. Let people see the change, not hear about it before it happens. By now, you've probably noticed a pattern. The things you should keep to yourself aren't about secrecy. They're about protection. Protection of your peace, your progress, and your personal power. Because at the end of the day, wisdom isn't just about what you know. It's about knowing what to share and what to hold close. As we continue, we'll talk more about the things you should never share, and why keeping them private isn't just wise, but necessary. When you've lived long enough, you start to see the patterns in people, the way they react, the way they change based on what you tell them. And if you've made it to this stage in life, you've likely learned the value of privacy. Not secrecy, but privacy. Because the more you share, the more vulnerable you become. And not everyone deserves access to the most personal parts of your life. Earlier, we talked about things like your regrets, your finances, your family issues, your health, your plans, your past mistakes, and even your happiness. These are things that, when shared with the wrong people, can invite unnecessary stress, judgment, or even harm into your life. But there are still more things people often don't think twice about sharing, yet should. One of those things is your personal beliefs, especially when they aren't necessary to the conversation. Now, this doesn't mean you should be afraid to stand by what you believe in. It doesn't mean you should hide who you are. But you've probably noticed that in today's world, people are quick to argue, quick to judge, and even quicker to divide themselves over differences. You don't owe anyone an explanation for what you believe. Whether it's about politics, religion, or anything deeply personal, you have to ask yourself, is sharing this going to bring understanding? Or is it just going to bring unnecessary conflict? Some people don't want to understand. They just want to debate. And the older you get, the more you realize that some conversations aren't worth having. Your peace is more important than proving a point. Another thing you should keep to yourself is your relationship troubles. Whether you've been married for decades or you're navigating a new relationship, there are always going to be ups and downs. But here's the thing. Bringing other people into your relationship problems rarely helps. Friends and family might mean well, but they don't see the full picture. They see what you tell them, and often they take sides. They'll hold on to things you've already forgiven. They'll judge your partner in ways you don't. And if you reconcile, if you move forward, they might not. Some things are meant to be worked out between you and the person you're with, not in the court of public opinion. And if you need advice, seek it from someone wise, not from just anyone willing to listen. Then, there's the matter of your generosity limits. People will always have needs, and if you're a giving person, they'll come to you when they need something. But one thing you should never share is exactly how much you're willing to give, whether it's money, time, or energy. The moment people know your limits, some will push them. They'll test how far they can go, how much they can ask for. And if they see you as a resource instead of a person, they won't hesitate to take more than they should. It's good to be generous, but it's also wise to be selective about how much you give and to whom. Not everyone who asks for help deserves it, and not everyone who needs it appreciates it. Let's talk about old grudges. By the time you're in your 50s, 60s, or 70s, you've had your fair share of disappointments. People have let you down. Some have betrayed you. Others have hurt you in ways you never expected. And while it might be tempting to talk about these things, to keep those wounds open in conversation, there comes a point where holding on to old grudges does more harm than good. Not because the person deserves forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. The more you talk about past betrayals, the more you keep them alive. And the older you get, the more you realize that some things just aren't worth carrying. Let people be who they are. Let them deal with their own actions. Your energy is better spent on the present, not on reliving the pain of the past. One more thing is, don't share your every struggle with people who haven't proven they care. It's natural to want support, to want someone to understand what you're going through. But not everyone who listens cares. Some just want information. Others pretend to sympathize but secretly enjoy seeing you struggle. And some will use your struggles as a way to feel better about their own lives. The truth is, real support doesn't come from sharing with many. It comes from sharing with the right people. The ones who don't just listen, but who actually help. The ones who don't judge, but who encourage. Choose those people wisely and keep your struggles out of the hands of those who only want to know, not to help. By now, you can probably see the pattern in all of this. The things you keep to yourself aren't about deception. They're about protection. Your beliefs, your relationships, your generosity, your grudges, your struggles. These are things that, when handled privately, give you more control over your own life. And at this stage, that control is one of the most valuable things you have. Now, we'll talk about the final things you should never share, and why, at the end of the day, keeping certain things private isn't just wise, but necessary. By now, you understand that wisdom isn't just about knowing things. It's about knowing what to share and what to hold close. It's about protecting your peace, your dignity, and your personal power. And if you've made it this far in life, you know that not everyone deserves access to the deepest parts of who you are. We've talked about keeping your regrets, finances, family issues, health, plans, past mistakes, fears, happiness, beliefs, relationship troubles, generosity, grudges, and struggles to yourself. These things, when shared with the wrong people, can lead to unnecessary stress, judgment, or even harm. But there are still a few more things. Things that, if you learn to keep private, will make your life much more peaceful. One of those things is your biggest dreams and ambitions. Now, this one might sound surprising, because we live in a world that tells us to speak our goals into existence. But the truth is, talking too much about your dreams can weaken them. When you share your plans too early, you invite opinions that can plant seeds of doubt, even when they come from people who mean well. Some will tell you it's too late. Others will question whether you're capable. And some will secretly hope you fail. The safest way to achieve your dreams: work on them quietly. Let the results speak for themselves. Another thing best kept private is your personal routines, especially the ones that keep you strong, healthy, or productive. Whether it's the way you manage your mornings, the habits that bring you peace, or the rituals that keep you grounded, these things are personal for a reason. The moment you start sharing them, people begin to critique them. They offer advice you didn't ask for. They tell you what you should be doing differently. But what works for you doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. Protect the routines that bring you stability. Keep them sacred. Then there's the matter of your personal weaknesses. Everyone has them, but not everyone should know yours. When you openly talk about what makes you feel insecure or vulnerable, you're handing people the exact tools they need to manipulate or hurt you. Some will use your weaknesses against you without hesitation. Others might not mean to, but their careless words can still make you doubt yourself. Strength isn't about pretending you have no weaknesses. It's about knowing who deserves to see them and who doesn't. Let's talk about disappointments, especially those related to people. As you get older, you realize that people will let you down. Friends will disappear. Family members won't always be there the way you expected. Some people will betray your trust and others will simply drift away. But constantly talking about who disappointed you doesn't fix anything. In fact, it keeps you stuck in the past. Not everyone needs to know who hurt you. Not everyone needs to hear about the times you were let down. Carry those lessons forward, but don't give them more power by speaking about them to people who won't change anything. And finally, the last thing you should never share is the deepest parts of your personal happiness. The things that make your life feel rich and meaningful. True happiness is delicate. The more you share it, the more you expose it to other people's energy. Sometimes good, but often negative. Some will envy it. Others will try to downplay it. And a few will look for ways to bring it down. Protect your joy. Not everything needs to be announced. The most fulfilling moments in life aren't the ones you broadcast to the world. They're the quiet ones. The ones you savor for yourself. At this point, you might be wondering, is it really necessary to keep so much to yourself? Doesn't it feel lonely? The answer is no. Because wisdom isn't about isolation. It's about discernment. It's about knowing who deserves to hear your story and who doesn't. It's about recognizing that your life is your own, and not everything needs to be public property. There's a quiet strength in discretion, a kind of peace that only comes when you stop feeling the need to explain yourself, defend yourself, or share every detail of your journey. When you hold certain things close, you protect not just your privacy, but your power. And at this stage, in life, that power is something you've earned. So remember, not everything needs to be spoken. Not every thought needs to be shared. The older you get, the more you realize that silence isn't emptiness. It's wisdom. And the things you choose to keep to yourself, those are often the things that bring you the most peace.